thanks for coming back to see us at Aunt Susie's Kitchen. Today we're really excited because we're going to be making pesto. Pesto is such a versatile sauce. It has so many uses, so much more than just pasta, and we're gonna go over them today. We're also gonna go over how to care for your basil, what to do when you have too much and you don't know what to do with it out of your garden in the summertime. And let's get started. We've got some really simple ingredients. We have obviously some basil, which is the star of the show. We have some olive oil. Now you can use whatever kind of olive oil you like, or if you prefer, you can use canola or another type of oil. I like olive oil. It gives it a nice clean taste. I try not to use extra virgin olive oil because it brings its own flavor to the party, and sometimes it can be a little bit dominating and take away from that fresh basil taste. We also have here some Parmesan Reggiano cheese, and we have some fresh garlic, salt, of course, and we have some pinoli nuts, also known as pine nuts. Now, this is part of a traditional pesto pasta, and you can definitely use that if you like, or any other kind of nuts that you may prefer, walnuts or even almonds. I don't use any nuts in my pesto, and that's just my personal preference, but you certainly can if you want to. So let's talk a little bit about the pesto in general and the basil. In the summertime, I know that I have more basil growing in my garden than I know what to do with, and there's only so much you can give away. So let me give you some tips for what to do with your basil. The first thing I do is wash my basil. You should too. And then you see in between each layer, I have a damp paper towel. And the paper towel keeps the basil nice and fresh. And it also allows it to stay hydrated so it doesn't start to wilt. So you definitely want to go ahead and do that. And then I put it just in a regular container that's airtight. I pull the air out of it, seal it tight, and I keep it in the refrigerator, especially in the summertime, because it doesn't like the heat, and especially the direct heat. Once it's cut off from the stems, it starts to turn colors. So I have a ton of basil here. It was on sale at my local farmer's market, and I picked up a couple bunches. So what I'm going to do now is I'm actually going to get my mixer going. If you don't have a mixer, you can do this in a mortar and pestle, which really is the traditional way to do it. I don't have that kind of patience, so I'm going to take advantage of modern American, appliances. Something that you want to be aware of: if you over chop your basil, it'll start to turn brown and a dark green. That's really not appetizing at all. So we're going to try to process this as little as possible so that we don't bruise the leaves and we don't cause it to turn an unappealing color, because nobody wants to eat gray pesto. So I'm going to go ahead and take all of the leaves off of the stems, because we're not interested in cooking or working with the stems, because they're just too fibrous and they don't really chop and blend as smoothly as the leaves do. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, and then we'll get some measurements together for the rest of the ingredients, and we'll make some delicious pesto. Okay, so the first thing I want to do is I want to get my garlic ready. Just give it a little smash. It comes off of the away from its paper very easily if you do that. I find it by just really separating it from the end that it was attached to on the bulb, it comes off a lot easier. You can do a couple of pieces at one time if you want to. And then same thing, just give it a little light chop, and it comes right out of its paper. So we're going to add the garlic in gradually, because the garlic can easily become over dominating if you put too much in, and you don't want that to happen. Also, as the garlic sits, especially raw garlic, the flavors intensify. So the last thing you want to do is have spicy pesto. So we're going to add that one clove at a time until we reach a point where we feel like we barely have enough, because again, those flavors are going to intensify, and you're going to find very quickly you have the perfect amount. Okay, so when I was done with all of the basil that I had, this is measuring about 9 cups right now, between 8 and 9 cups. So I'm probably going to want to use at least a half a cup of cheese for that. And I could cut it off and throw the chunks in there, but I like to grate it. Again, if I put it in there in chunks, then I have to blend it for that much longer to dissolve the chunks, and I don't want to run the risk that I'm going to bruise the basil leaves. So just going to go ahead and give this a very rough grate. It's not on a fine setting, so it's grating pretty quickly. And like I said, I'm going to start with a half a cup. You can always go back and add. That looks about good. Okay, so I've got my garlic. The next thing I want to do is I want to get my oil ready, because we're going to put this together really quickly, like 1, 2, 3, it's going to go together. And like I said, we don't want to over mix it. So if we have all of our ingredients ready, it makes it that much easier to just add what we need to and get it done quickly. So I'm going to measure out 1 cup of olive oil. I'm going to go ahead and pour that in. Okay. And then I am going to start with 2 cloves of garlic, and they're pretty nice sized cloves. So I'm going to start with 2. I think that's enough. I am going to put a teaspoon of salt. And I'm going to go ahead and get this cheese. And I'm going to put the cheese that we grated into there. And that's probably about a half a cup. And remember, because it's grated, it looks like a lot more than it really is, but it's not. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and put the lid on. I'm going to pulse it to start, and then I'll, give it some time to settle down, maybe scrape the bowl down and give it another pulse. Again, making sure that we're not over mixing. You see how very quickly that comes together. It doesn't take much time at all. And what looked like a mountain of basil suddenly has been reduced to a very small amount. You see that we're going to try to maintain that beautiful, vibrant green color. I'm going to get a spatula, because what I want to do now is I want to go ahead and just scrape down the sides, because I don't want to mix more than I have to. And I want to make sure that all those big chunks on the sides get incorporated. So a couple more pulses. Now just by eye, I'm going to say that this could use a little more oil, and a very little more, just a couple of tablespoons more. I'm going to go ahead and pour those in. Okay, so it's about 2 more tablespoons of oil, and that's fine. This looks really good now. So the only other thing that I want to do before I say that it's done is I obviously want to taste it. That's really good. Needs a little bit more salt though. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put another teaspoon of salt in there. And I'm just going to give it a quick pulse. I also think it could use 1 more clove of garlic. I'm going to put that in now. I think the cheese is perfect, so we don't want to put any more cheese in. But we definitely want to go ahead and give this another couple of pulses. I want to make sure that that garlic is completely chopped. I don't want to leave any whole bits of that in there. Okay, let's check it out. Oh, that looks nice. That looks really, really nice. And you can see, like I said, how vibrant green. It maintained that vibrant green color, which is important because, like I said, nobody wants to eat green pesto. I know I don't. I'm sure you do either. Okay, 1 more pulse. Perfect. We're good. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and get this in a bowl, and then we're going to go over all of the things you can do with pesto. It's not just for pasta. I'm gonna show you a couple of great recipes you're gonna wanna try at home. So we'll be back in just a second. Okay, so we're back. And as promised, I've got a couple of really useful ways to use pesto other than just pasta. So I have 2 chicken breasts here that are actually marinating in pesto. That's right. Pesto can be a marinade. You don't have to just use it for chicken. Let me tell you, we make pesto shrimp, absolutely delicious. We make pesto pork chops, really delicious. Pesto on a lobster tail. If you think of it, you can absolutely put pesto on anything you want. That pasta was Freudian, I guess. I am so used to associating pesto with pasta, just came out. So, all right, we've got our chicken breast here. And they don't have to marinate long. 20, 25 minutes, something you can definitely do on a weeknight. You just want to make yourself a really hot pan. This is a cast iron pan. I like using the cast iron pan. It gives a nice sear to it. And it also, this one here is a little rib, so it's going to put some grill marks on it. I put a small amount of oil in the bottom. Not a lot, because there's oil in the pesto. And I make sure that it's nice and hot. And you see if I drop a little piece of pesto in there, it starts to cook right away. So we are ready to go. I love that sound. That sound to me translates to you've got the temperature in the pan just right. So we'll go ahead and let them cook probably about 6 minutes on each side. Give it a turn. We'll come back and show you how delicious this is going to be. Okay, see how the sides of the chicken are starting to turn a little bit white? That's my cue to go ahead and turn it over. Beautiful color. Hard to see the brown through the green, but it's there. And then we're going to be ready to go on to something different. So many uses for pesto. Okay, this chicken is looking good, and it is done. So I'm going to go ahead and turn the heat off. Look at that. That is really delicious. How moist it is. The flavor is amazing when you use pesto for a marinade. So we've got a bowl over here. And in this bowl, we've got some of the pesto. And when I'm done, I'm going to go ahead and strain this pasta out. And in the meantime, I have a pan over here that has, oops, wrong gas, that has a little bit of olive oil and some cherry tomatoes. I'm going to give it just a little bit of salt, a little bit of fresh cracked black pepper, and we're just going to go ahead and blister those tomatoes. Okay, we're back. These tomatoes are beautiful. And as you see, like I said, they've just blistered a little bit. We're going to go ahead and kill the heat on them. Pasta's just about done. We're going to strain that. We're going to strain them directly into the bowl that I have here. Kill the heat on that also. Don't throw all your pasta water away when you make pasta. Always leave behind at least, a cup and a half for you to work with in case the sauce that you have is a little bit too tight. You can use the pasta water to loosen it up. So I'm just going to go ahead here now, give this a toss. Oh man, it smells so good in here. All right, get a bowl. Go ahead. Bring all of that pasta into that dish. Oh man, that looks good. Now, tomatoes right up over the top. Oh, that looks yummy. Now, you definitely don't want to forget to garnish this with a little more cheese. Just a little bit of that Pecorino Romano up on top to finish it off. Oh, you can't go wrong with that. Look at that. Now that is one good looking pasta dish. Okay, we're not done. Give us a second. I've got one more recipe I want to show you where we're going to use some of that pesto. And then I'm going to also show you how to store the excess pesto. Okay, so I just wanted to show you how this dish comes together. I took that beautiful chicken and sliced it up, and I'm gonna go ahead and serve that alongside. Okay, I am back, and as promised, we have got another great recipe for you. I have in this bowl 20 ounces of 93% lean ground turkey. To that, I am going to add 1 teaspoon of salt, because although the pesto is well seasoned, the turkey meat is not. I am going to add a half a cup of that delicious pesto sauce that we made. One of my pet peeves is making sure that the measuring cups are always cleaned and empty, and that all the ingredients are used and nothing goes to waste. I'm also going to add 1 egg. And I've taken 3 slices of just an all-natural bread that I buy for my house. You can use whatever you like, but I happen to like this particular kind. And these are 3 slices of fresh breadcrumbs. And you're probably going, oh my God, that's a lot of bread. It's really not. These are fresh breadcrumbs, which means they have a lot of moisture in them. Dried breadcrumbs are just that, they're dried, and they don't have as much volume. So if I took these breadcrumbs and I dried them out, I'd probably wind up with 1/3 of what you're looking at here. So don't let that intimidate you. Now, I have these really cheap gloves that I get at Restaurant Supply, and I like to wear them when I mix meatballs, just because I don't like washing the mix out of my hands. And this makes it so much easier. This smells so delicious. You don't even know how delicious this smells, but wait until you taste it. That's really where the magic is. So, okay, it's pretty good. Let's get another mix. And I'm gonna go ahead and get this over to the stove. We have preheated that same cast iron pan that we used before to cook that chicken. I'm gonna go ahead and get a burger made. Okay, we are back. I'm gonna just shape a burger. I've got my pan is nice and hot. That's really important, because if you cook in cast iron and the pan's not hot enough, it tends to stick, and I'm sure that's not what you want. So you definitely want to make sure that you preheated it. I've brushed it very lightly with a little bit of oil, and we're just going to go ahead and make some turkey burgers. These are one of my son's favorite. He said he never knew that turkey burgers could be so delicious. Well, try them with the pesto, and you will not believe how good they are. Now, these are different than burgers, so please make sure you're not serving your family medium rare turkey burgers. You want to cook them throughout. If you have a little instant read temperature, we've got egg in this now. You want to get this up to about 185 degrees on the inside before you pull them and consider them cooked. You certainly can, give them a little kiss of salt at this point if you want. I'm going to let them cook first, and then right before I serve them, after I take them off the heat, I'm going to give them a little bit of seasoning. Okay, I just want to come back for a second and show you what these look like. I'm going to flip them. It's been about 10 minutes. Look at that color. Beautiful color. You don't want to cook them too high, because you don't want them to color too quickly. Again, the insides do have to cook. You want them thoroughly cooked. And we're going to give these another 10 minutes, and then I'm going to check the temperature on inside them and see how they're doing. Okay, so check this out. As if we don't have enough fun going on that other pan while those turkey burgers are cooking, I went ahead and I rolled some of these into meatballs. That's right, meatballs. They make delicious meatballs. And wait till you see how I'm going to finish these meatballs and the sauce I'm gonna serve it with, your head's gonna pop off. Stick around. We got more to come. Okay, we are back. These burgers are cooked to perfection. I have a toasted bun, actually a toasted potato bun, which is delicious. And I'm gonna serve this with some of our homemade pickled peppers. And these are peppers that we grew in our garden. And then we prepared them and we pickled and canned them at the end of the season last year, but that's another video. This is a little bit of Pesto Mayo. The ratio on that is 3 tablespoons of mayo to 1 tablespoon of pesto. You can also, if you wanted to put some cheese on it, I don't think it needs it. There's Parmesan in the pesto. I have just a few sweet potato wedges here that we made and we're serving with a little bit of crema and garnished with a little parsley. But look at that burger. I'm going to bite into this burger. I don't want to do it on camera because I'm going to make a mess and a half, but wow. Look at this. Look at this burger. I can't even tell you how good it looks. Oh. See the steam coming out of there? It's very hot. Oh my goodness, but it is so delicious. And those peppers give it just the right amount of kick. Oh boy. Okay. I promised you some amazing turkey meatballs, and that's what you're gonna get. Be right back with them. Okay, I promised you a recipe that was gonna blow your head off to finish these turkey meatballs, and here it is. I took the turkey meatballs out of the pan. I'm letting them rest. They're completely cooked. And I removed most of the oil that I cooked them in from the bottom of the pan. And now I'm just gonna go ahead and add 3 tablespoons of pesto back to this hot pan. Okay, a little whisk. To that, I am going to add 1/3 of a cup of white wine. Let some of the alcohol in that cook off. Look at that. Oh, that smells so delicious right now. Okay. We're going to put 1 cup of heavy cream in here. Perfect. Turn the gas up a little bit so it comes back up to temperature. Give it a whisk. We're not looking to boil the cream, but we are looking for it to come up to temperature, so we can go ahead and add that last ingredient in. Can you guess what it is? What do you think? Did you guess grated Parmesan? You're right. All right. So, finely grated Parmesan, okay? 1/4 cup. Give that a stir and have everything incorporate. At this point, I'm gonna go ahead and taste it. It may need a little salt because the cream wasn't salted. And we definitely wanna make sure that it's properly seasoned. Yes, so I'm right there. It needs a little bit of salt. You know, remember, when you're making a sauce, you want to well season your sauce because that sauce has to now stand up to pasta, rice. You could do this with some zucchini. You can do this with some spaghetti squash. But pasta by itself, you know, is pretty bland. So don't be afraid to have a well-seasoned sauce. So we're going to bring this up to temperature. It's going to just start to slightly bubble. Again, I don't want it to boil. I'm not looking for a full-blown boil here. Let's go ahead and get these turkey meatballs back inside this sauce. Oh boy. This obviously is a dish for one person or two people, depending on your appetite, but you can adjust it for as many people as you want it to be for. Look at that sauce. And the more it cooks, the more it's gonna go ahead and thicken. And again, we're not looking to boil it. We just wanna reduce it. And as the sauce comes up to temperature and cooks more, it'll thicken. Okay, be back in a few minutes and see how everything came together. Okay, we're back. Look at this sauce and how beautifully it's reduced. Love it. In the meantime, I've made a little fettuccine. Just finished cooking that. I'm gonna go ahead and give it a quick strain. Saving a little bit of that pasta water, just in case the sauce is too thick. All right, so now I'm gonna pour that pasta right inside that pan. Oh man, you should smell what it smells like in here right now. Absolutely amazing. Okay, we're gonna go ahead now and get this pasta. Look at that. Look at how creamy and thick and beautiful this sauce is. You can't go wrong with this. You literally cannot go wrong. Whoops. Unless, of course, you splash yourself with it. All right, go ahead and put those meatballs in. Look at that. Go ahead now and finish the rest of the sauce. Wow, that's just unbelievable. Clean up my mess I made. And then we're gonna go ahead and just give it a little bit of finely grated Parmesan, just to finish it off. But I'll tell you what, it does not get much better than that. Look at that dish. Oofa. Okay, let's take a recap and look at everything we did today. Okay, so we're back. And we have got all of these amazing dishes that we made tonight. We've got the chicken with the traditional pesto sauce. We first marinated that chicken in the pesto and then cooked it in a nice cast iron pan. Look at that. Amazing. We blistered some tomatoes in garlic and olive oil, and we finished that dish with the tomatoes. Then we made a killer pesto turkey burger. We finished it off with a little bit of our homemade pickled peppers, and underneath there is a little bit of pesto mayo. Absolutely delicious on a toasted potato bun. And last but certainly not least is this show-stopping creamy pesto Parmesan fettuccine with our delicious pesto turkey meatballs. This is the dish that I have been waiting all night for. There's only one thing left to do. Ooh, it's still smoking hot. If my husband had his way, I would have made this with capellini, which is angel hair, but angel hair is a very delicate pasta, and I don't think it would be served very well with a dense sauce like this. Huh. Oh man, that's legit. I'm not even kidding. I can't wait to turn this camera off so I can finish this. So, go ahead and hit the subscribe button. Man, I just want to finish that. Okay, stay focused for one more minute. Come back and see us sometime because there is always something good cooking in Aunt Susie's kitchen. Ciao. Okay, so I promised you some tips for storing excess pesto to get a little more life out of it. And here we go. Super simple. I like to use glass jars. You can definitely use whatever kind of jar you prefer, but I like glass. So, pour it in a glass jar. Sometimes the pesto will oxidize, meaning that the reaction from the air will cause it to turn a darker color up top, which isn't really appealing. So if that is something that bothers you, don't worry. You can take a piece of plastic. We're going to cut a piece of plastic to fit about the size of the inside of the jar. I'm just going to go ahead and put this so that it touches the top of the pesto. Don't leave any room for air in there. And then go ahead and put the lid on it. And this will stay in your refrigerator for up to 2 weeks. And take it out, use it, replace it with a clean piece of plastic wrap, and you'll be able to use that on all kinds of stuff. I like to put some in my mayonnaise sometimes if I'm having a turkey sandwich or a chicken sandwich. There's so many things you can do with it. You can thin it out. You can make a salad dressing with it. The possibilities are endless. Something else you can do if, let's say, you're going on vacation and you know you're not going to be home to use it and you don't want it to sit in the refrigerator. Simple. Pour it in a Ziploc bag. Go ahead and get all the air out of that bag. And this can go in your freezer now. And this will last in your freezer for weeks. I probably had some in my freezer, maybe 4 or 5 weeks. Never had a problem. Take it out, let it defrost. The good thing about it is if you put it in your freezer and you decide, you know, during the week you want to marinate some chicken, pull it out in the morning. It's ready when you get home from work at night. You can also freeze it in ice cube trays. Then when they freeze, pop them out, put the cubes in a Ziploc bag, and then you'll have those to add to, you know, your pasta sauce, to add to just regular pasta, or this recipe that I showed you before with the turkey burgers. There's so many uses for it. So definitely make a big batch and then go ahead and save it and use it for as many things as you can possibly think of. Your family will think you're a genius. I ain't even kidding. I'm not sharing this with anybody. Shut that camera off.